Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, Lunar New Year has arrived at the resort along with some new merchandise. Monsters, Inc. turns 20. Sweethearts Night kicked off last week.
Downtown Disney continues towards 2 new experiences. Bay Area Weekly Tiers have a chance to connect our book club with the Walt Disney Family Museum. We talk about Disneyland Handcrafted and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Oh, look at all the people listening. Welcome to DL Weekly's Enchanted Podcast. Hey, Tag and Teresa, mi amigos. Pay attention, it's showtime.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of January 28th, 2026. I'm Tag Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show. And this week, we'd like to give a special shout out to Derek J., Christiana B., Ryan G.H., and Gabe R. for your continued support. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, plus a bunch of other really fun perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Well, Lunar New Year kicked off last week, and with it came some new merchandise. A new Loungefly Lunar New Year crossbody bag with detachable coin purse for $75, a removable bow ear headband for $36.99, and a spirit jersey decorated with lanterns and gold-accented clouds for $84.99 are some of the new items. A Lunar New Year teacup featuring Horace, Mickey, and Minnie for $19.99, and a 6-piece Lucky Red envelope set for $19.99 are some of the collectibles. Magic key holders have 2 exclusive items, a Lunar New Year tea, priced at $36.99, and a commemorative trading pin for $21.99.
I don't know why. Every year, there's something about the Lunar New Year merch. Maybe it's just the colors or the festiveness of it. I don't know, but every year they seem to just do such a good job, I think, with the designs. I think the red with the gold accents, and then there's usually like fireworks. It's always just like so fun and exciting looking. So it's just, they just do such a great job. What did you think of the ears? I think it's really interesting that they've started doing a lot more options of ears that have the removable bow. So if bows aren't your thing, you still have, you can still support and get your ears on.
I think that it's long overdue to have some of these things that can be gender neutral, maybe, I guess you could say, where you could put the bow on if you feel like that's what your style is and what you like, or you could just do regular ears. Because I feel like, there's been times that I've enjoyed, I really like some of the ears you have, and if I was going to wear ears, I could wear some of those, but I just don't want the bow. That's just not my style. So having an option where you wouldn't have to have that, I think, is awesome. Also, think about this. Maybe you can mix and match if you had different removable bows. You could take bows from one set and put it with a different set. You could do something like that, which is really cool.
There you go.
I also have to agree with you that I just think that the color combination of the gold and the red work really well. So everything kind of looks good that they do with this. And it's also cool because every year, of course, the character that represents that year of, in this case, it's the cow or whatever, and the rooster
horse.
And stuff in the past, horse. In the past, it's been other animals. And so you pick characters to go with that. So I think that adds kind of a little bit of fun to it. But yeah, I think it's a great merch. I like the idea of the lucky red envelope set, because one of the traditions for that is you put a wish or something, or something you're hoping for the new year into the envelope, and it helps, it's supposed to bring good luck for that or something like that, I think is what the tradition is.
Yeah, so money is gifted in the red envelopes, and it symbolizes luck, prosperity, and joy.
That's what it is. Yeah, so I think those are super cool. And then for the magic key holders, I think the t-shirt they have looks really cool. And of course, I never turned down a good trading pin.
I was actually said I was still focused on the ears. I know there's so much other merch to look at, but ears are my thing. This might be a first for me. I think I like these ears better without the bow. I just really, really like the design on the ears themselves, because it's I don't know, lanterns, I guess. And a kind of a grid pattern with little different colored lanterns all over. I don't know. Excellent job. That's what I'm going to say. Excellent job. And to me, the bow almost takes away from like the pattern that I like so much on the ears themselves. So good job, Disney products and design, or whatever the department is officially called. You're doing fantastic. One of these years, got to make a point to actually get out there for this festival, because I feel like every year we talk about it and we're like, why don't we do this? One of these years, one of these times.
Just timing.
Well, just timing, and we forget about it until suddenly it's here. I think the holidays distract from it or something. I'm not sure. Well, last week, Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue turned 20. Cast members had a small number of buttons to give out if asked. The buttons featured Roz with party decorations flying around with some screen canisters and 20 Years of Scares banner. The attraction won't be around for another 20 years, though. It's set to close this year to make way for the upcoming Avatar experience.
I think it is fair to say that Roz is my favorite Monsters, Inc. character, and the fact that this button had Roz, wonderful. It is interesting. It doesn't, as you get older, things don't seem like they've been that long since they've been around. I remember just like it was yesterday when Monsters, Inc. came to California Adventure, and now here we are 20 years later. It's a fun attraction. I do think that I will miss it more than I give it credit for, especially depending on how good this Avatar experience that's going to replace it is going to be. And DCA needs some more kids attractions, and so this is just another good family attraction that is going away. But I'm glad it got to make it to 20, and they celebrated with even a modest thing.
I'm actually surprised that they did the buttons for the celebration, since it's, slated to unfortunately close its doors for good any time now. But you know me, I love a good fun celebration button, especially when it's like a special anniversary. Had to be there for the day to get the button. It's such a fun little design, because Roz is like surrounded by confetti and there's a party hat and she's like scowling.
A monster's party hat. It's got a bunch of eyeballs.
Yeah,
in it.
yeah. It's good. It's very good design. Collector's item now too. So if you were lucky to get one, definite collector's item.
Absolutely. Well, last week also marked the first Sweethearts Night of the season. This year, the check-in was back in Frontierland at the entrance to Galaxy's Edge, where guests could pick up their lanyard, map, and a pack of Dove chocolates for the event. Some of the themed photo areas this time were the rooftops of Paris from the Aristocats, the balcony from Aladdin, a picnic in Toontown, and the Kiss the Girl scene from The Little Mermaid. Some uncommon characters were also around, like Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which is not uncommon, but Hortensia, which is Oswald's girlfriend, kind of like Minnie to Mickey, Princess Kida and Milo Thatch from Atlantis Lost Empire, and the Country Bears offering bear hugs over in Bayou Country. The new Celebrate Love Cavalcade and Once Upon a Dream show were fun additions to the After Dark event.
I'm just always so blown away every year by these photo op experiences. So I think it's really neat that Sweethearts Night focuses more on photo op type things than the rare character meet and greets, because as we have experienced, those rare character meet and greets, those lines can get pretty intense, whereas it seems like photo op things go a little bit quicker and faster, because it's just the photo. It's not, having your interaction and then also doing your photo. So they go a little quicker, faster, but these photo ops are just so elaborate. And I know I've recognized some of these from years past, but it seems like they're always adding new ones each year too, because the variations just seem to keep growing and growing. So I think that's just a fun and unique thing for the event. And it looks like it was stellar. Unfortunately, the first night was a little soggy because it was raining, but it doesn't seem like it took away too much of the value or the entertainment that happens during this event, which that's the other thing too. There's a lot of entertainment that they're doing for this event. There was the Royal Ball that we had talked about that was kind of new this year with live entertainment, and then there was stuff going on like inside the Golden Horseshoe as well as other places. So just a wonderful sounding event.
I wish I would have been able to get a photo. One of the photo ops that I didn't mention was the penguins from Mary Poppins sitting at a table outside the plaza, and I think would have been really awesome. From Tangled, there was like a boat you could sit in with the floating lanterns behind it. Just, Tony's restaurant kind of also set up near Plaza Inn. So I think you're right that this is definitely some of the unique, cool things that you can do at these after hours events is these unique things. But I'm glad they also added some stuff like the cavalcade, because there's nothing quite like a parade. And it does add quite a bit of value to your after hours ticket. And I think live entertainment, these after hours events are just showing the importance and the value of live entertainment. And I wish they would take that lesson and put it back more live entertainment in the park.
100%.
Like during the normal time.
Yes, during just regular park hours. Well, downtown Disney is continuing to be a bustling area full of construction. Portos Bakery and Cafe is coming along as the demolition of the former Earl of Sandwich location is moving along. I think last I saw on social media, there was like 4 cement pillar things, and that was like all that was left. So it went really quick. The old building should be completely cleared soon. Gordon Ramsay visited the resort to check on the process of Gordon Ramsay at the Carnaby, which will be located upstairs from the new Earl of Sandwich. The sign for this location has been revealed already, with rumors that a soft opening could happen in the next couple of months.
Yeah, so SnackChat had overheard some of the workers saying that sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks that they were planning a soft opening. And so that's exciting, right? Like, we've been waiting how long for Earl of Sandwich to get done? And it seemed like at times that, I don't know. I feel like the last 3, the last number of times we've been to the resort, this building has been behind scrims being constructed. Yeah. So it's been almost a year, at least, since the first time we saw that. So I'm glad to see that's coming along. I was a little surprised to see the signage show up. This, I think, was also kind of done for promotional purposes with Gordon Ramsay and stuff being there. They probably wanted to show off the sign. Also, I agree with you that I expected the old Earl of Sandwich location to take a little bit longer to demo, but it was like, boom.
Yeah.
How long did it take for them to tear down Tortilla Joe's? That's like forever.
Not this. They're like, nope, sorry, done. We've waited long enough, and it's been kind of in this weird in-between for years now, and we're ready. Hit the ground running. So I just hope the momentum keeps up for that, and that we don't have what we currently have going with the old Tortilla Joe's location, where it just works kind of stalled and they're waiting on, permits or whatever it is before they can go on to the next thing. Because it's just very difficult, especially, being someone that visits the park, to just go and be around all that construction, but then also not have any progress be happening with that construction. It just kind of makes it feel a little worse. And there's just a lot of construction, especially going on in downtown Disney now. So it'll be nice when it all wraps up and downtown Disney can get back to normal.
I feel like Disney has 2 speeds of construction. It's either like full steam ahead or molasses.
Yeah. Which I'm sure there's reasons that we will never know what the specifics are. But
not for a while, at least.
It's interesting as an observer.
Yeah. Well, for our book club read this time, we'll be diving into Groundbreaking Magic, A Black Woman's Journey Through the Happiest Place on Earth. Well, if you will be in the San Francisco Bay Area in February, the Walt Disney Family Museum will be hosting a talk with Disney legend Martha Blanding, the author of the book, along with Disney historian and former DLWeekly guest Marcy Carricker-Smothers. The talk is on Saturday, February 14th at 1 p.m., so maybe a nice pre-Valentine's date event to do. Tickets are on sale now for $15 if you're a Walt Disney Family Museum member, or $30 for adults. There's some other discounts and stuff as well. For more information, visit the link in the show notes.
This is pretty amazing. So if you don't know Martha's story, of course, we recommend you pick up the book and perhaps join our DLWeekly book club to discuss. But she began her career in 1971 as Disneyland's first Black tour guide. She was then promoted to a VIP tour hostess within a year. That was just the beginning of her journey. She was the first Black woman in management at Disneyland, ultimately served as senior manager of Disneyland Resort merchandise and special events. And then she got to do all sorts of really cool things, including co-founding Pulse, which is a business employee resource group supporting Black cast members and employees, and all of that. So 1971, and then in 2022 is when she retired. And then just this past year, 2024, I guess 2 years ago now. Like I said that, I looked at the day, I'm like, wait a minute. Just a year and a half ago, she became a Disney legend at the D23 Ultimate Fan Event, which was, we got to be there for that, and it was they did a fun celebration for each of the honorees this year, and she had, who all was there? We had the Dapper Dans, the Disneyland Band. I think Mickey was there. Like, so much of Disneyland kind of like came out to support her and celebrate her in the Honda Center, which was very, very cool. Yeah.
And we'll just plug it here on the show as well. We plan to meet for 3 times for this book. It's going to be the last Sunday of the month at 4 p.m. Disneyland time on February 23rd, March 29th, and April 26th. So to get in on that, DLWeekly.net/support. If you are a supporter, join the Discord chat. There'll be links and stuff for when all of this happens. I think we'll also try to put it on Patreon as a post. We'll try to get better at that. We haven't always been the best at that. But it's always a good time, and it'll be really cool. And if you go to this and you do the book club, it'll be even cooler because all of us will be like, tell us about the event.
Yeah. If either we had better flights or a what's my thing that I always want?
Teleporter.
A teleporter, or like if we were local, like this just sounds like an amazing opportunity, because going to events like this are a much more intimate experience than going to, say, the Honda Center with tens of thousands of your closest friends, it feels like. So if this is something you can do, I feel like the $15 if you're a member, up to $30 if you're a non-member, is a deal to have this experience. And, you'll probably actually get to meet her and chat with her. I'm sure she'll be signing books, and books will be for sale there too. All sorts of fun stuff. So if you go, please let us know all about it and how amazing it was.
Also, keep an eye on waltdisney.org if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's the website for the Walt Disney Family Museum. Because there was another talk that's happening at the end of February with former Imagineer Tom Morris talking about Imagineering at the beginning of Disneyland. Because right now their exhibition that they're running is The Happiest Place on Earth, the Disneyland story, which will be there, I think, through May. And so this talk kind of coincided with that. That one, unfortunately, if you are just now hearing about it, is sold out, so you can't get tickets for it. But do keep an eye on their website, because they have lots of cool things happening all the time. And sometimes we catch it and talk about it on the show, and sometimes we don't. But there's always cool Disney stuff going on. Same thing with, go to the D23.com website and look at their events. They got tons of stuff. And those are, all over the country sometimes, so.
I am just looking because they have different classes and stuff, and there's animation workshops.
There you go. You can do the Animation Academy basically without being at Disneyland.
Oh yeah, a little different. I don't know how much, because there's animate a bear, and it's animating. So animate a bear eating honey. So it's not just a quick sketch thing. Wow. Okay, this looks dangerous. This looks very dangerous. Very fun, but could be very dangerous.
I am the podcast that flaps in the night. I am the churro crumb in your meticulously planned itinerary. I am DLWeekly.
This week in SnackChat, it's kind of like a double whammy, because yes, we're going to talk about some new menus, but we also get to talk about a news related event that I feel like we've been very patiently waiting for a reopening date on this for a while. But the Napa Rose has been undergoing an extensive refurbishment and was originally slated to open before the end of 2025. Well, that was pushed back, but we finally have a reopening date, and it will be on February 6th. Look at that, just in time for Valentine's Day. Reservations are now open to book a spot to dine at this location, and there's also a refreshed menu.
Yeah, so I don't think you have either dined at the Napa Rose. We've heard from people who have and have really enjoyed their experiences there. It definitely is on a lot of people's like lists of things that they want to do or that they like to do. So just kind of starting at the top here, we do have a link in the show notes to the Disney Parks blog about this, where they kind of, if you want to see some pictures and stuff for yourself. So there's going to be some different dining experiences that you can have at Napa Rose. So first of all, there is a bar and lounge part of Napa Rose, which reservations are not required for. Walk-ins are welcome, but again, subject to availability. So this area was renovated. You can get a craft cocktail or small bites served a la carte if you want to do this dine at the bar and lounge. And it's going to have cozy, intimate seating areas, a stunning new bar, and the warmth of a new fireplace for a relaxed evening of conversation and delectable dining. So they also have some alfresco dining on the newly renovated outdoor patio, which is still getting the final touches as we speak.
It is still getting its final touches. I love that they've got like that you can do like the bar lounge. So if you don't want to commit to the full experience, you can still enjoy your time and get a taste. The main dining room, and then of course the new outdoor terrace is the other option you've got. So the main dining room is going to be debuting a seasonal prefix menu with the option to add different wine pairings and stuff like that. And there's a new and enhanced children's menu for kids 9 and younger. So if you're going there with your family, you've got options for the little ones as well. So the option to dine indoors is going to be surrounded by the restaurant's 1,500 label wine collection, or you might be seated outdoors on the expanded terrace, which invokes the ambiance of al fresco dining that California wine country is known for. From the concept art, this space looks beautiful, and I'm sure, it looks like you've got, you can kind of have some peeks into the park because you are kind of encroaching on that area, so you might be able to get a glimpse of like Grizzly Peak in the background and stuff. So very cool, but advanced reservations are highly recommended to dine in the main dining room or outdoor terrace, and like most Disney reservations, they can be booked up to 60 days in advance.
Yes, and of course there's some same-day reservations that I think are held aside as well, but they're very limited, so don't count on that.
Yes, yeah.
The other thing that is something that the Napa Rose is known for is the chef's counter and the private dining room. So the chef's counter offers up to 18 guests the opportunity to design with a direct view of the exhibition kitchen, where Napa Rose chefs personalize each course of your meal based on seasonality and creativity. Reservations are also highly recommended for this interactive and engaging experience, and you'll be able to book your seats online at naparose.com. And then for a private, more intimate and curated experience, you can also choose to celebrate a special occasion at the newly renovated private dining room, which is up to 16 guests, and you have to contact the restaurant directly to book that.
So from what we've heard, because again, like Tag mentioned, we have not experienced Napa Rose ourselves, but chef's counter is like the thing to do because the meal is personalized by the chef each course, and it of course is based on whatever's in season and their creative stuff. So instead of just getting regular menu items, you just never know what you might be served if you're doing the chef's counter dining experience. For some reason, I guess I never paid attention before what the capacity was for the chef's counter, but 18 guests is actually larger than what I would have thought. I would have thought it would have been like a tucked little corner, and maybe it was, and they were able to expand seating so that more people were able to have this experience.
I hope so, because like I said, we've heard from weekly tiers that have done this that it's pretty spectacular experience, especially if you have dietary restrictions.
Yeah. So what everyone's been anxiously waiting for, the menu sneak peek. What are some of the wonderful delights that you can enjoy while you're at the newly renovated Napa Rose dining experience? Well, there's going to be, first of all, go to the link in the show notes, because the photos that they took, these dishes look like works of art practically. They're so gorgeous. So do yourself a favor, go look at the photos. But starting over in the bar and lounge, they have little bites like beef tartare, which is topped with caviar. There's a bone marrow custard, or a dish called the Laughing Tiger, which is It's a reimagining of the fan favorite Smiling Tiger salad, which must have been on the menu previously. And they made a small bites version of it, which it looks delightful.
Yeah, so in the main dining room, they'll have some dishes such as the American Wagyu New York, which is served medium rare with a grape fennel mustardo, an elegant dish of oak roasted forest mushrooms, or a sorpresine pasta served with Dungeness crab and Santa Barbara uni butter. For the sweet tooth, which who doesn't have a sweet tooth, you can get a Nantes carrot cake cremo. It's all these fancy names. Or the elevated and reminiscent Valrhona chocolate bar. Sorry, the spelling on this is very interesting. So
I just can't get over the photos because, again, works of art. Like, this looks like it was plated so that it could be take a photo taken for it to be like in like a magazine or something sort of thing. Yes. Obviously, these were plated to be photos on the Disney Parks blog, but you know what I mean. This is just the level that you come to expect at this establishment, which is amazing because, again, you got to remind yourself, this is a theme park. Like, this is a restaurant located in a hotel connected to a theme park. So the fact that you have this level of dining and like this attention to detail is mind-boggling. Absolutely crazy and amazing.
It is, and I can't wait till they put, as we record this, they do not have, even though they have it linked in the Disney Parks blog, they do not have the menu on the website yet. All it says is our chef's tasting menu, outstanding wine pairings, a personalized culinary delight, and a la carte offerings, but no actual items are listed as of yet. So I assume that those will show up in the next week and a half, something like that.
Yeah, amazing. I am looking forward to everyone who gets to be some of the first folks to experience the new version of Maparos. And especially for those people that like it's a favorite that you get to, enjoy it again and enjoy it in a new way as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you want to support the show as a one-time payment instead of like a recurring Patreon situation? Well, you could buy us a churro. Head on over to dlweekly.net/churro to support us with the churro. Thank you to all of our listeners who have supported the show in any way possible.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have a rabbit hole that I fell into for you to learn all about stuff in. Are you ready to follow this white rabbit down this hole?
I don't know if I'm scared or curious or excited.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Yeah, maybe it's just a combination. I don't know.
Well, longtime listeners of the show will know that sometimes if you send me an article or an interesting thing, I might just follow that and get myself lost and come up with cool things. So thank you to listener Ace, who sent me an article that got me going about Disney horses.
Disney horses.
I spent the afternoon just
the year of
learning
the horse?
Cool things about Disney horses, and I've got 4 questions for you. So let's see what you know about Disney horses. Your first question. Located about 28 miles from Disneyland Resort, what is the name of the stables where the Disney horses reside?
Is it Circle D? Yeah, Circle D.
It was Circle D Ranch when it was in the back of Disneyland, and I think it's still Circle D, but I think it's on some other ranch property that I can't remember the name of.
Sure.
But I think you're looking for Circle D Ranch.
And is that your final answer?
Yeah, because there's the Tri-Circle D Ranch, which is what they call it at Disney World.
That's what I was like that was throwing my head. I'm like, wait a minute. No, because it's the same, but not the same. Tri-Circle D, that's what it is for Walt Disney World.
All right, so you're going to combine your circles and both of you say Circle D Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, your second question. Every Disney horse is required to take a vacation every year where they stay at the stables and just run, socialize, and horse around without any work or training. What length of time is this vacation?
I know this is a podcast, but both Tag and I were like shaking our heads in unison at the
horse around. That was good. Come on.
Okay, so sorry, I was too busy.
They're required to take a vacation for a length of time. What is that length of time?
Did you say how often they're taking this vacation?
They take it once a year.
Once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I'm going to say a month.
I was going to say, I feel like it's probably pretty, like, more than the 2 weeks that the average American ends up with PTO. I'm going to say like 3 months. Maybe I'm giving them too much time off.
See, you said that, and then I was thinking, like, while you were talking about it, I was like, maybe it's 6 months. Like, they get like 6 months on, 6 months off. But then I'm like, that seems like a long time. I'm going to stick with a month, and I'll accept if I'm wrong.
Okay, so Teresa's giving them 3 months off, and Tag says 1 month off. Well, what's a typical work week for a Disney horse?
I feel like we don't spend enough time on the horse-drawn carriage chatting with the cast members.
I do
and this
feel like
one, actually, I did recall from talking with one of the cast members. I remember, as I'm reading the article, it came back to me, the conversation that I had with a cast member, so I can verify this one.
I feel like I remember part of this. I feel like their shifts at the park are 4 hours long, but I don't remember how many days it is. I want to say like 3 days.
Yeah,
a week, maybe.
yeah. It's quite the rotation. That's why I was giving them so much time off, because that sounds good, Tag. I think you're right. I think it's like a 4 hour, like 4 hours total, but they're only on for like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes at a time. And then like 3 days a week.
Yeah, it sounds right.
All right, so both of you are saying 3 days a week and about 4 hours total. All right.
Yep.
Per day, not over the 3 days.
Yeah,
Yes.
per day
Yes.
on their 3 days. Yep. Mm-hmm. And
This
your
isn't
fourth
France. No.
And your fourth and final question. Like all cast members, Disney horses have names and name tags.
Oh, no.
Where do they wear their name tags?
Okay, that I got. I was like,
I wasn't going to make you list all the names.
Them.
No.
They're so like.
I didn't trust the veracity of the article that I was reading to still be up to date on the names. Otherwise, I'd considered it.
So the name tag, one of the places that they have them is, if it's in the horse-drawn carriage, it's at the front of the carriage facing the guests so they can see.
Where does the
big,
horse wear
large.
its tag?
Oh, so you're saying the horse?
The
has
horse is
them
wearing
too.
a tag. Where is he wearing it? Or she? Where are they wearing it?
I wonder if it's on like their like chest.
Yeah, like
You
on
know how,
the
like their
harness
reins
thing
and stuff.
The
yeah.
reins, yeah.
You can tell we're big horse people.
Yes.
We don't know.
Whatever you
what all
call the
pieces
thing
are
they're
called.
wearing.
Oh no! Is it on the crown? There's something on the crown of their head.
I think that's
Dang
just
it.
like the Disneyland D. I don't think that's like their name.
Is that
That'd be
the
like weird to have
Disneyland
their
D?
name on their head. But you can say it.
I'm trying to remember where I've seen like things like emblems or whatever. So maybe it's the Disneyland D I saw on the head. Okay, we'll stick with the chest.
Okay, well, I hope I didn't talk you out of the right answer.
That's okay.
All right. So
Are you going with
saying-
chest too, Tag?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying they wear their names on their chest. Proudly like a human. All right. Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home? How do you think Tag and Teresa did with their knowledge of horses? If you stick around until after this week's discussion, we can all find out the answers together.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we are going to talk about the recently released Leslie Iwerks documentary, Disneyland Handcrafted, which is all about the year basically leading up to the opening day of Disneyland and kind of everything that it took to get Disneyland open. And it has tons, almost the entire movie is archival footage that most of it has never been seen before, or if it has, it's been cleaned up. Some of it's been colorized and has like audio and stuff from people that helped build Disneyland. There is going to be a link in the show notes to it's available on Disney Plus and for free for everybody on YouTube. And we have the YouTube link in the show notes if you want to watch this and have not done so yet.
So Leslie Iwerks' name probably rings a bell to other Disney parks history fans because, of course, she did the Imagineering story, both the multi-part series that was first released on Disney Plus when Disney Plus first launched, and then also, of course, the book that went along with it too. She's done all sorts of other things, Disney and non-Disney wise, as far as like documentaries go. But one thing that I kind of want to point out for those of you that maybe haven't seen this yet, if you are a big fan of the Imagineering story, definitely recommend checking out Disneyland Handcrafted. But it was done in a different style, I guess would be a good way of saying it. It was almost like you had like a bird's eye view of watching the work unfold in that year of Disneyland being created up until, opening day. So I don't know what I was expecting, but I guess I wasn't expecting it. It felt very intimate, I guess would be a good way of saying it, because it wasn't just, like a narrator kind of pointing stuff out. As you were seeing things, like Tag mentioned, you had audio clips from different folks that worked there, whether they be Imagineers or other people that were supervising or managers or whatever of some sort. Walt, of course, was one of the people. I should have taken a list of all the different names that were gone through and voices that we heard. Walt, Harriet Burns, I think, was one of the first voices that we heard. We heard from Bill Evans. We heard from John Hench. We heard from Dick Irvine. We heard from Bob Gurr. We heard from, just trying to think of all the people I can think of off the top of my head. So many different people. There was names I recognized.
I have a list from
you
the
have
credits,
a list
from the
Perfect.
Credits of the show. So, of course, like Teresa said, Walt Disney, Roy E. Disney, Dick Irvine, Roger Brogy, Harriet Burns, Bob Gurr, Marty Sklar, Charlie Ridgway, Marvin Davis, Harper Goff, Art Linkletter, Bill Cottrell, John Hench, Diane Disney Miller, Herb Ryman, Ruth Shellhorn, Bill Evans, Dick Nunes, Joe Fowler, Bill Martin, Milt Albright, Fred Yeager, and Blaine Gibson.
Amazing. So, like...
a who's who.
A who's who, yes. But the thing that's also cool, too, is these are maybe names that you recognize, but maybe you've never... and you've seen their photos for sure, but not all of these are voices that you may have heard in other various things. So I think that was really cool and just really kind of brought it to life. And some of the times when they were using people's voices, of course, they were making sure that it was lining up to what you were seeing visually, but sometimes they would also kind of do an extra layer and they would show the person talking, working on whatever it was that they were, discussing. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, it felt like you were a fly on the wall, I guess would be the best way to describe what the experience was like versus, going, like I said, and kind of like how the style that they did for the style that you're used to with other documentaries where you have a narrator kind of telling the story.
Yeah. And I did not know this, but at the very beginning of this documentary, it is known that Walt hired some filmmakers, several cameramen to document all of this, which I knew on some level, obviously, that there was cameras there. Obviously, somebody like Walt who had used film and movies and TV shows so much, it makes sense that he would have thought about this. But some of their footage is stuff that like I never even knew that they did. There's some footage kind of throughout this of cameras in helicopters flying over the park in various stages of its construction. There's time-lapse footage of various areas of the park that you can kind of see. There's really cool stuff that, like, honestly, I didn't even think that they did that early back with cameras. Like, there's some shots, they were even in the trailer, of, like, the camera sitting on the ground and, like, construction vehicles, like, driving over the camera. That is just something I feel like you didn't see back then. And so they were very creative kind of doing some of this leading up to this. So I just think super cool. There's also, like I said, some video footage here that has been seen before in black and white that they have colorized.
Yeah. That I wanted to point that out too, Tag. You see a behind the scenes of how this footage was created. And so I thought it was so fascinating that Walt had the thought process to have this crew hired to like document. I mean, we're documenting from before there was even any sort of like earth movers, really. So you get to see it. You see all of the orange groves still like outside of the space. You see it at like the blank canvas stage all the way through again to opening day. So it's not like part of the way through somebody went, oh, hey, maybe we should be, taking footage of this or whatever, which again, you got to remember, it's easy to look at it from today and say, well, yeah, of course, why wouldn't you document it? Well, A, think of the expense that this was, and B, everybody thought that this was going to fail. There was very few people that thought Disneyland was going to be the success that it ended up being. So like the fact that it's really amazing that footage exists. And again, think of the time where 1954 is when they're doing this, and it's 16 millimeter film, I think I saw here. And the fact that they had, instead of, just filming constantly, they set up those like time lapse things. They gave a stat of how frequently it was taking photos. But then the cool thing was you could take those photos and like animation, you could just kind of flip them together and you could see, it was showing the whole story. So you're watching the earth movers dig things up and trees being planted and the construction of the castle or the construction of this, that, or the other. And it feels like a movie, even though it's just photos. So it was just fascinating. And we'll get into this more later, but the creativity, we'll call it, of how they used the cameras and how we had nice sweeping aerial shots in a time well before drones without even the use of helicopters, because they would build these, I don't know, platforms, I guess, that they would then attach to one of the cranes and just have the crane person lift them up and take the sweeping shot of the Mark Twain or, whatever it was at that point. And so not only the creativity, but also the like braveness, we'll say, of the people behind the camera to get these shots is incredible. And the fact that this all was just chilling in the archives until now is just crazy. Just absolutely just crazy.
Something to get out of the way just right off the bat. Anybody that watches this, knowing the regulations and whatnot that we have today, everybody that has talked about this movie who's seen it has talked about, oh, there was no OSHA regulations happening here, because there are clips of steel workers literally just with their bare hands and feet climbing the side of a giant metal thing. So think the construction that's going on with Avengers Campus right now, the big giant steel girders, there are construction workers just climbing the side of it and then without safety harnesses, just walking along these beams. There was a clip in the show of two construction workers on the top of the Mark Twain, and they get on the crane cable and they just get lifted off. Like, that would never happen today. But one of the shots that's towards the beginning of the documentary that I thought was so cool. Sometimes some of these shots that you see in this show, it takes a minute to figure out where you are, like what you're looking at, because there's not a lot of stuff there. And in fact, I want to say, like, what was it? They had a quote from Walt, or a clip of Walt saying that, like, or a clip of somebody recounting a conversation they had with Walt, saying that, like, we're 6 months into this, we've gone through half the money, and I have nothing that anybody would come see. And that's kind of what you see through some of this. But the shot that I'm looking at right now, at first I thought, oh, this is going over the rivers of America. This is the Jungle Cruise. And the reason I know it's the Jungle Cruise is there are those upside down trees.
Do you have the timestamp of what you're looking at?
9:33.
I'm so curious now.
Yeah, 9:33, because it's the beginning of a shot of the helicopter kind of following the berm. There's no railroad tracks yet. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is the Jungle Cruise that I'm looking at. It's just crazy. I love this. I love seeing an era.
Yeah, there's the upside down trees.
I love seeing an era of Disneyland that, like, I have never experienced, will never experience, of like its birth. And something that I was telling Teresa, and I had mentioned this to James too, who also watched it separately from me, of all things, so go figure, that trying to place where these things are today. So, like, for instance, the castle's still there, Main Street's still there, obviously. A lot of the berm is still there. Rivers of America is still there. And so seeing some of these clips and going, man, this was 70 years ago this was all happening. and it still exists today. That is so cool in a lot of ways.
Well, and like with the shots that you were just talking about, I was like so enamored by the berm that I didn't even notice the Jungle Cruise that you noticed off to the side, because I was just thinking, like, when I was looking at that, the berm doesn't feel like, it looks so much taller than what it feels like or is today. And I just remember, and like just different things of looking at them digging out the trenches for the Jungle Cruise and how deep that feels and how big some of those hills feel. Of course, there's no water and stuff in it now, and it isn't that deep, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, you get such a different view of things that you know and are very familiar with, that it just kind of blows your mind. Like right now, I'm still panning through this, and I still won't get over the fact, I think the first time I saw this was the Imagineering story, watching a car drive through the channel of the Jungle Cruise. But like, just absolutely incredible. I was a total nerd because I knew we were going to be talking about this on the show. So I actually jotted a bunch of notes down anytime that there was something that I was just like, what? Or, something that just caught my eye. So like Tag was mentioning, it got to a point where they're like, we've spent so much money, but there's nothing here for anybody to look at. Well, what does that mean? Well, different numbers that I jotted down during this was the budget originally was $4 million for Disneyland to be built. Well, at some point that got bumped up to $7 million, and the last number that was shared in the documentary was $14 million, and then they said they had no idea after that. Harper Goff, there's a clip of Harper Goff talking about how he was supposed to be in charge of his own budget, but like math just wasn't a thing for him, so he just wasn't paying any attention and just getting all of his work and stuff done. And so, but of course, Walt and other people were paying attention, but it was just the fact that he was the creative director, making sure like things like the backside of water were being formed and created, and having to oversee all of that, plus then having to do all of the spending and budgeting and spreadsheets and all that. It's just kind of wild. But I did jot down things too, because the documentary does a great job of having kind of timestamps to like let you know how far along we are in the process and how close we are to opening day. So the big thing that I noticed, 10 months was literally like dirt and plants. Like maybe there's some plants that are going to be there on opening day. Maybe they're still removing some of the orange trees from the orange grove, but that's all it was. 10 months. Like I need to like watch this on repeat, because I still don't understand how they did this. Like, you think a year is a short time frame, but really it was less than a year.
Yeah. I'm watching again, so I'm literally 16 and a half minutes in, because I'm just kind of scrubbing through as we're talking, because I want to make sure that if there's anything that I want to talk about that we don't miss. And they're putting the railroad tracks together. And we think of like today, they just a couple years ago replaced the tracks at Disneyland, and they probably had like a few guys and like machinery. There's like a dozen or more laborers.
Yeah.
All through human force moving these tracks into place. In fact, I have a clip here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and a guy on a tractor putting the Disneyland Railroad tracks together just in this one little segment. It's just crazy to me. And right after this clip, like Teresa said, they have all these time frames that they tell you as it goes. And it's chronological, the way that she's laid out the documentary of like going through time. So they're working on these tracks, and then it says 4 months to opening, and they cut to a clip of the boiler for one of the steam engines for the train, and that's it. There's no ornamentation, there's no cab, it's just the boiler.
Like the guts.
Yeah,
just the guts.
Like 4 months before opening. Like, what?
Well, one of the things that I noted that also is another like, how in the world... 5 months is when they're marking that the Sleeping Beauty castle work started.
Yes.
5 months until opening, and like castle's still there. Like, that's the other thing that's crazy. Of course, there's been different things that have been replaced and whatever, but it's still there. It's just absolutely wild. 7 months, the big like thing that I noticed, like as far as like progress wise, was the berm. Like that was the big thing. But they also talked about how a lot of the stuff, even though we can't see things happening, and I think that was part of that quote that you were talking about earlier with Walt, is that a lot of stuff had to be buried. So like different like lines for water or gas or, whatever. There was a lot of kind of framework and stuff that they had to get down before they could go more vertical and such. And so that's what they were doing in those stages. But again, it's hard to like fathom because it still just looks like dirt. And they're opening a theme park in 6 months or, whatever. So it's just wild. Speaking of dirt, I do think, I know we kind of talked about the OSHA stuff, but I just found it very entertaining watching all of the different earth movers and all of the different cranes and stuff, and how, we'll say, creative they were in using those and different things that they do. A lot of the like earth movers, some of them only had wheels in the back and just kind of had like a sled in the front. So they would, it's very unsafe. There's even a clip, yeah, kind of like drag or push or like, whatever. But there's a clip where they would be going up these like very steep inclines on an angle, and there's one that like tipped over at one point. It's really incredible that there weren't any serious injuries while they were doing this, because it was just it's not the same safety standards as we now have today, and stuff like this is why we now have safety standards today. But I just, watching them, like you'd mentioned earlier, like they used a crane just to move, kind of move people from point A to point B. They just kind of lift them up and went. And the earth movers and the cranes, like just wild, just absolutely wild how they use them.
There's a clip at about 21 minutes and 5 seconds in of Bob Gurr working on an Autopia vehicle with, I don't know who this kid is. I want to say, like, he gives me, like, Peter Pan actor vibes. So I was looking up, and Bobby Driscoll did the voice for Peter Pan. And it kind of looks like him, but I'm not confident enough to say on the podcast that is definitely Bobby Driscoll. But we know Bob Gurr today as a 90-something-year-old Imagineer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen a lot of sustained clips of Bob Gurr from back in the day. I don't even know if I would recognize that this is Bob Gurr. And he's helping get the thing started. The kid's going to drive the Autopia vehicle around, it looks like, on the studio lot. Just what cool footage, right? Like, not every bit of this show or this documentary is at Disneyland. Some of it's at the studio. Some of it's in the sky going down towards Anaheim. So it's just kind of cool. I think it's neat to kind of see some of this and to see Bob Gurr back in the day, and to think that he was already like an adult in 1954, 55, and he's still alive today, 70 years later. It's crazy.
It's amazing. The other thing that one thing I learned specifically with Autopia, since we're talking about it, is did you know that they had police cars? The original Autopia had like police cars.
I didn't remember. I think I had heard that before, but I didn't remember it.
I don't. That was a new fact for me, and I thought that was fun. So they were talking about how they had the addition of some of the cars were to look like police cars, because they were going to be keeping an eye on the rest of the drivers out there, which I find extra comical, because we've all heard the stories of how the opening of Autopia actually went, and those poor police guests, I don't know what you want to call them, the people that were supposed to be paying attention, they had their hands full, because it was kind of chaos. It was kind of chaos. Speaking of other like big attractions that are still there, and big things that they had to build and create, the Mark Twain. So they took you to the studio where the Mark Twain is being built. So the Mark Twain was built off-site. It was not built on Disneyland property. It was built at the studio, and the deck is 105 feet. And I like paused and rewinded this a couple of times, because I'm like, did I just really hear that right? 105-foot deck, but because the deck slopes, each piece of wood was hand cut out and hand fitted because of this. Just think about that the next time that you are on the Mark Twain, that every piece of the decks hand cut, hand fitted, like that. Wild. The other thing too is they designed it so that it would come apart in sections so that they could ship it to the park in sections. And so they actually finished assembling it at Disneyland. But it was, kind of like a puzzle that they created the pieces of and then popped together. I thought that was
And they
wild.
haven't finished some of the clips here. Like, obviously, it's not finished, but they're lifting a giant. So there's that section on the second floor that you can kind of go into that's below, I think, the wheelhouse. And they have giant black letters written on the side. Prom deck, port aft.
Yeah.
Prom
where
deck,
this piece
starboard,
goes.
forward. Yeah, where they all go. And they're lifting these pieces into place. Custom making the doors. There's a gentleman here working with a planer, sanding and finishing and putting all the trim and stuff together. Just we kind of knew that there was this level of artistry, but seeing it happen just makes it that much more impressive, the work that they've done.
Well, and I was thinking about that with all the different footage that they were sharing of attraction vehicles kind of coming to life. And I think it was the Casey Jr. Circus Train cars and the ships for Peter Pan are some of the ones that I'm thinking off the top of my head of watching them hand carve these pieces and all of the little flourishes and embellishments that are on the vehicles. Of course, today it's not the same, but the original ones, how they hand painted and it was handcrafted. It was the exact reason that this title exists is handcrafted, because we're also watching things like the waterfall, Schweitzer Falls waterfall, being created from cement and then people hand carving to make it look like rock. And then same thing, you're watching them create cement to make it look like it's bricks on the castle. And even the facades of Main Street were a cement stucco type thing that they then carved to make look like bricks or, whatever. And it's just, it's one of those things I feel as a Disney fan we're aware of, but it's very easy to forget that this was all nothing. And literally, it's not like they could just order these pieces and pop the stuff up together. In fact, they were talking about that with ride vehicles. They did go to different manufacturers and with plans of things that they wanted built. And the manufacturers were like, oh, no, you don't want to do that. And then we're just trying to sell them, stock carnival rides or amusement rides. And so that's why they went to these lengths. It wasn't a cost saving measure or anything. To get what they wanted, to get what Walt wanted, they had to do it themselves and they had to learn.
Yeah. To use a phrase that you say all the time, what's wild to me is there is a clip at about 34 minutes and 48 seconds on Main Street of a crane carrying a building down Main Street. This is the Frontierland train station. Why they had to take it down Main Street is beyond me, but they had to transport it all down Main Street and over. It is crazy. Just crazy.
Oh.
And I also love seeing these sculptors taking cement and cutting the brick formation. In my mind, it's either real brick or it's that stuff you can buy at the hardware store that you stick on. No. This is concrete that they painstakingly drew all the lines in. It's nuts.
It is absolutely wild. Something else fun and also scary and shocking that I learned while enjoying this documentary was that Disneyland, when they started building Disneyland, they only had 10% of the plans completed and they just developed the rest, the 90% as they went. And I'm just again, the fact that this was done in a year, arguably maybe less than, depending on where you want to say the start actually started, and they were doing the plans as they were. I don't know how that. I feel like we say this when we see any behind the scenes thing because we have the same feeling with the behind the scenes creating Frozen 2, and we're like, how did this movie even happen? It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. The other thing too was. I think it was either the 3 or 4 month point. They were actually advised to push the opening to September, but didn't. And part of the reason they didn't was if they would have pushed the opening, it would have failed because of the money running out, and then you were opening it at like a non-peak season where people weren't going to travel and all that stuff. And so I can't even imagine the sheer will and determination that not only like the upper tier people had, but then you had to, like all of the people working on this had, and it was hundreds of thousands of people working on things too, because it was in a lot of these shots. It's just, well, you counted just for the railroad tracks, how many people were working on that. But I'm thinking of different images of all, like, I'm paused on this one section here where they're painting the hand railings for the Main Street train station. And there's 4 people in this shot, and they're probably not even 15 feet apart from each other. There's just so many people working so tirelessly to pull this all together and pull it all off.
Do you remember the clip when they installed the flagpole in Town Square, and a gentleman like crawled to the top and was like bouncing back and forth at the top? I'm like, what is happening? I
don't know. Part of me is like, I think that was intentional. Like he was testing like how it would do in the wind or something, but he also installed like the golden, like, I don't know,
cap,
ball cap thing on top. But yeah, that was wild too. He just shimmied on up that pole and was, bouncing around on it, trying to see. I don't know. It was just, there's so many, like, again, just nail biting moments when it comes to safety with this.
We talked a little bit earlier about how, or maybe we didn't, and I'm thinking of a different conversation. But anyway, part of this is for the first time, and I think we might have said it, that as opposed to a lot of other Disney stuff, they did touch on the fact that Walt was worried. And I feel like that's usually like kind of glossed over a lot of times. And there's a clip 42 minutes, 50 seconds into the show, right after the guy on the flagpole bouncing around. And I've seen this clip of Walt before, and they clipped it down what I'd seen before. It's of Walt in a Jeep driving next to what I assume is like the railroad.
Yes.
And he's like racing it. But if you look at the clip that's in this documentary, you can see in Walt's face that he looks a little tired and he's a little worried. But then he looks and sees the train and kind of is playful. But if you look at his face, you can see the stress on his face.
Yeah, you get like, it's a raw moment where he doesn't realize he's being filmed for the first couple of seconds. And you can, you're right, you can see that kind of like concern, stress, worry. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he sees the camera, I just love like how playful, and he's like pretending he's racing, he just like always the like big kid at heart, right? Even though he's like, I'm sure stressing out. He was talking, I don't remember now who shared this, but one of the folks shared a story during this about how he was talking with Walt, and he's like, well, what's the worst could happen? And Walt's like, well, I could lose all my money. That's the worst that could happen. But I've done that 5 times before. What's one more time? So the fact that he was even very lighthearted about, he knew failure was very real, but he just didn't let that get him down, which I'm sure is why he was as successful as he was, because vast majority of people freeze at the fear of failure and they don't push through. And the fact that he failed multiple times and just didn't let that get him down is just amazing. I want to talk about the Jungle Cruise. I don't know why, but I am just, every time we see these behind the scenes things and the creation of, they spend a lot of time with the Jungle Cruise. And I think I'm just drawn to it because of what we know the Jungle Cruise as today is like this lush tropical environment that it's very difficult to think of it as anything but. Well, it was. And like some of the things that I hadn't seen before was them like lifting the boats in and out of the water with people still in them.
I was just going to say, with people in them.
With people in them. And then when they were bringing them down, they had people like in scuba gear in the boat, like in the water, that are making sure that the boat's going on the rail correctly and all that stuff. And those same people in the scuba outfits are helping make sure that the animals in the Jungle Cruise are like doing what they need to do. Because I don't know, again, in my brain, I assumed that the hippos or the elephants or any of the animals that are actually in the water, I thought they installed those and then filled it with water. No. No. They did it in the water. And just absolutely wild. Another story that I really wanted to share quick, again, with the Jungle Cruise was Harper Goff was the one, the main designer, and one of his big contributions that's still there today that we all know and love is Schweitzer Falls in the backside of water. And he designed it specifically so that the boat could go behind the waterfall. Well, nobody knew if that was going to work and if water was going to stay out of the boats or not. And so Harper wanted to be on the first boat through the jungle to test to see, like, are people going to get wet? Like, what's going to happen? And so he hopped on that first boat, and I was just, I think, taking it all in, really. And then as they were going under the waterfall, reveling in the backside of water for the first time ever, he turns, because he's watching the boat to see if any of that water is splashing back and if anyone's going to be getting wet. And there's Walt at the back of the boat. And so the fact that Walt just kind of like popped up from who knows where and just also wanted to be one of the first people to experience and go around the Jungle Cruise. Again, this was the first boat to go around, and both Harper and Walt were on it, and it wasn't even planned. Like, Harper, yes, but Walt just kind of happened to be there. I thought that was such a fun, cool story. And the other thing too, Walt was on this boat, and the backside of water is kind of the end of the attraction, and he somehow just kind of snuck on there. Nobody really noticed he was there.
What did you think about, they had that clip where they said that the horticulturist, like, some of the plants had died and they didn't have time to fix them, so they painted the plants.
That's one of my notes.
It's very much like painting the roses red, like, yes. Just make it look good.
Yeah, that was one of my notes, because I just thought that was absolutely wild. A couple other, like, things that happened days before. There was a gas leak under the castle that they had to, of course, address.
This is a great story.
You can share it. I just talked all about the Jungle Cruise nonsense, so you can share the gas leak.
Who was it that was telling this story?
I don't remember. Somebody is walking around smoking his pipe.
Was smoking his pipe going towards the castle, and somebody came running at him and said, "There's a gas leak. You're blow the castle up."
I gotta scrub through and find that.
I would also like to say that I am looking right now at a clip before the park opened. I'm looking. It is Main Street. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's like 12 vehicles that I can see parked on Main Street. Main Street is paved. So remember that whole thing about like the asphalt was whatever? It didn't happen like the day before. Although James did point out to me that maybe there were parts of the park that were still being paved, which they did bring up about that when they were getting the cameras in place for the ABC grand opening broadcast, that they were sinking into the concrete because of the weight. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'll give that to you, James. I'll give that to you. Oh, Bill Martin, art director. Yep.
Bill Martin. Okay. So
yeah, he said
Art was the one talking about them painting the plants.
Yeah. So Bill Martin said, we had a gas leak. I'm looking at the subtitles. We had a gas leak under the castle, and you could see the little blue flames coming out all around the perimeter and the foundation of the castle. Can you imagine this? Mm-hmm. Just crazy. And I was unaware of this, of course, at the time. Right. So I was smoking my pipe as usual and walking up from the hub, and all of a sudden the fire chief at the time came running out and grabbed me. We waltzed all the way back down to the hub. He said, "Do you know there's a fire out there?" He figured I'd blow up the castle. Yeah. That's freaking great. That's just great.
A couple of other fun, like, crazy things too, and we'll wrap up, because of course we want you to go watch and enjoy this for yourself, so we don't want to give you all of the good tidbits. But July 10th was the first day that the train made its first Grand Circle tour, which, again, like, crazy to me. It's like days before it's going, and that's when they do their first, like, full test run. But also on that date, some of the things I noticed in footage, again, maybe it's not 100%, but there were still some dirt paths in places, and the front gates weren't even finished. Like the Disneyland turnstile front gates were not even finished. Again, the times date that they had given when they were also showing these things, July 10th. Talking about filming, like the filming the opening day of Disneyland, which of course we've all seen the opening day report. I did not know that they showed up 3 days early, though, so that they could rehearse all of these things. And it makes sense as they were explaining it, but they had to figure out where they're going to put all the cameras. They had to build all sorts of special platforms for the cameras because they were lifting them up with like forklifts and stuff like that. But the thing that was also wild, because again, think of the time, 85,000 feet of cable they needed for the cameras to be able to do what they did to document.
Didn't they say they got cable from like all over the country because at that time there wasn't that much cable just around?
Yeah. But 85,000 feet of cable. And then one last fun thing that I, again, I knew Casey Jr. did not officially open on opening day, but I never knew what specifically or why. But it was because it was ready for the most part. Like the train was ready, the tracks were laid, all that fun stuff. But they kept having issues with trying to get the train to go up and around. And they realized it was because there were not like safety rails on the track. So it could pop off the track really easily. So that's why it didn't open on opening day. But they did make sure that someone drove the train around at least once so that for the cameras to be able to see it. And I
make
just
sure the camera gets it. Yep.
Oh, I just thought that was wild. Just absolutely wild. Because everything I'd seen before was it just wasn't ready. Well, it wasn't ready because it wasn't safe. I'm like, oh my gosh. Just incredible.
Can we talk about the fact that the Mark Twain did not have a railing in the front of it? Like, you could just stand on the bow. Like,
hop off.
What?
Different time. That's the other thing, too, that I wish, like, if I had... There's a lot of things I wish I could have. A teleporter and a time machine are, like, the two main things, though. And if I had my time machine and I would transport back to, this version of Disneyland, Disneyland looks and felt more like a park in the sense of like green spaces and gardens and stuff. Because there was this really gorgeous shot of the castle, kind of like from where Tomorrowland is, kind of maybe like where the Tinkerbell area
Pixie
is
Hollow.
with Pixie Hollow with the fountain and all that. That was all just gardens, but they didn't have the fences that are up all over the place to make sure that people aren't, walking through the grass and stuff. And it just looks so beautiful and so picturesque. Like looking at Town Square, again, having all that green space not being closed in with the fences and such, it just gives the park a much more, I don't know, almost like a relaxed feel or look with having all those like green spaces open for people to be able to enjoy. And it's just one of those things, like I wish I could have experienced that. I also wish I could have seen the drawbridge actually, be a working drawbridge.
Well, do you want to feel really sad? So when to go along with what you were saying, one of the clips I was going to point out earlier that's like pretty early on that is basically showing like kind of the beginning of the castle being built. And there's a shot of like a car coming around a corner, and basically you're looking into the hub and you have the trees that are in the hub that are very low to the ground and like lush. And I'm looking at this clip right now that's at about an hour and 15 minutes and 11 seconds at the end, and it's color footage of after the park opened, of up on the train station, basically looking down towards the castle. And there's all these trees along Main Street, more so than there is today. And I remember when I used to go to Disneyland when I was a kid, they had these trees, and they were older. These had grown up. They had been there since the park opened. I remember reading about this online. And the ones in the hub, same thing. There were these gorgeous trees that have been able to grow for years and years, and it looked wonderful. But what happened was, once it started becoming more popular to watch fireworks and they were going to do things like the projections, they really cut down on the trees because those were blocking those sight lines. And so we happen to know that Tony Baxter actually has one of the trees that used to be in the hub that was an original tree. And those trees on Main Street, there are still trees, but they are fewer and far between, especially if you look at some of this footage, because of sight lines and wanting to do that. But it did feel, like you said, more park-like back then.
Just amazing. Just and to just add to what Tag says, you know how we feel about the trees of Disneyland. They hold a very special place.
Save Teresa's trees.
Yes, they hold a very special place in our. It just makes the park. Well, like that. Like, that's kind of the only tie-in that we have, like, to the current version of the park that makes it feel more park-like and not just, like a theme park where it's just, usually theme parks have the bad kind of rap of lots of pavement and lots of sun and not very much shade. And yes, there's, gorgeous
Avengers
theming and
Campus.
stuff. Yeah, but it's, it's not as, I don't know. This feels more like a town would, or like a city park or something like that when you add things in. Obviously a town park, city park on like plus to the nth degree, but as far as just the overall feel of the space. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can chat with Tony Baxter and maybe I can go visit the
the tree.
I've given the son of the dreaming tree a hug. Maybe I can at some point, I can put that on my Disney bucket list, is give the original hub tree a hug too. This was here at Disneyland's opening day.
You got to find, I don't think you could get to the trunk of it, but you got to find the Dominguez tree that's in Adventureland.
Oh yeah, I don't,
because that was also
either
on the property since
I can give it an
before.
air hug next time.
There you go. Well, I think both of us are very happy that this documentary came to be. Leslie did an amazing job, as she does, telling a wonderful story of a place that is so beloved to so many people, and through a lens that we don't get to see that often, which was, it felt very real and authentic, and that they didn't like try to have a narrative. It kind of was just like, here's the story.
Yeah, it really felt like kind of like a love letter to the people that created Disneyland, and not just this kind of, I don't know, like, look at how great this is, like, just kind of making it sound amazing. This is like showing more like of the grit and honest, like what this actually was, and not just like it was a dream and they made it happen in a year, and like, isn't that amazing?
Did you stay to the end of the credits?
Real. No, I did not.
The end of the credits. At the end of the credits, it says, dedicated to the hundreds of craftspeople who built the happiest place on Earth.
See?
So, just what you were saying.
Yep. And that's perfect, because that's what it felt like. It just felt like a love letter to Disneyland and a love letter to the people that made it happen. And it's just one of those things, being such a Disneyland history person, that we've heard stories, right? But it's such a different thing when you're seeing those stories unfold and seeing the people responsible for the creation of the thing that we love so much. It's just completely different than, reading about it, hearing about it, whatever. So we both definitely recommend you take the time. The documentary is like what, an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, but we definitely recommend that you give it a watch and just kind of enjoy it for what it is.
I'm looking at the comments on YouTube, and usually the comments are kind of a cesspool. Not this time. The top comment as we're recording this, I think, is really awesome. Thank you, Disney, for releasing this for free on YouTube. My mom, who met Walt near opening day, and we have a photo of it, doesn't have Disney Plus, and I was able to send her the link to YouTube to watch this. She's 79 now, and we still go to Disneyland at least once a year together.
Look at that.
So just some of these things. There was another one down here I saw that says, it was so nice to see my grandfather in this documentary.
Wow.
Brings back so many memories. He was one of the original Disneyland band cast members. I miss him so much, and even tagged the timestamp.
That's cool.
At an hour and 10 minutes and 23 seconds when the band is watching ground. So I assume grandfather is somewhere in this. So how cool that so many people have been able to connect with all of this. So
the other thing too, another comment on here, which is something that, as Disney fans, like, we appreciate what this is, but this person was commenting about, that they're aware of the condition that raw black and white silent 16 millimeter footage actually is. The work that went into saving it, cleaning it, is remarkable, and then enhancing it with sound, it's seamless and makes the 70-year-old footage immediate and vibrant. That's the other thing too, that, like, as I was watching this, I had to remind myself that this was not filmed with the intent of creating this documentary, that this was all, I think it was like 50 hours or some crazy amount of footage that they scrubbed through to find and put this together, and like pull the story out of just mountains of footage. So that's just amazing. Just absolutely incredible. Anyways, shout out, thank you to Leslie Iwerks for creating this beautiful, beautiful thing for all of the Disney fans out there. And yeah, we hope that you guys all watch it and enjoy it as much as we do. If you enjoy listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and part of the community.
Looks like we're coming in for a landing, gang. But please stay listening until trivia comes to a stop. And then you can walk to the nearest exit. Thanks for listening to the 8th wonder of the world, DL Weekly.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we are going to find out the answers to tonight's questions and see if Tag and Teresa were just horsing around or if they actually knew about Disney horses.
I'm confident on one.
Tag, how you feeling? I see you're shaking your head.
You know, cautiously optimistic for at least half of it, maybe?
Okay. All right, well, let's find out. Your first question. And again, thank you to listener Ace for sending me down this rabbit hole and getting me inspired to go to multiple sites and learn all sorts of cool things. Located about 28 miles from Disneyland Resort, what is the name of the stables where the Disney horses reside? Both of you agreeing after a little discussion that it is the Circle D Ranch. The correct answer that I was looking for was the Circle D Ranch.
Woohoo!
Previously located directly behind Disneyland in the area that is now known as Galaxy's Edge, in 2017 they were moved to their new home 28 miles away.
Nice.
Poor horses. Now they've got to commute.
Yeah.
Right? Through the Los Angeles traffic, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your second question. Every Disney horse is required to take a vacation every year where they stay at the stables and just run, socialize, and generally horse around without any work or training. What length of time is this vacation? Teresa gave them a very generous 3 months off, and Tag said they get a month off. The correct answer to that was just 2 weeks.
Dang! Oh, poor horses.
But Teresa, the next question of how many hours and stuff
That's
they work probably
true.
makes up for it.
There's still hope.
Like the cast member told me, well, didn't tell me actually, to be fair, told another guest years ago when we were sitting on the carriage waiting to go, somebody asked about how heavy the carriage was, and the cast member said, don't let him fool you, I could pull this thing.
Yeah.
So that was a fun thing that I learned, and I couldn't figure out a way to make a question out of it, but I wished that I could. It's not just that the carriages themselves are surprisingly light, but it's also the way that the rails are designed and like how flat and like perfectly flat the rails actually run. And I mean, everything about all of it is designed to be as frictionless as possible. So literally a human could just grab onto the carriage and pull it. So the horses are barely working. It was an interesting read to.
They
deep dive
deserve
into
to
that.
be pampered.
Yeah,
those
actually,
horses.
I'll have to. And it was one of the sites that I went to was a horse people website. Did a review of Circle D Ranch and the horses. So it was like reading it through the eyes, not through a Disney lens, but through a horse people lens, and their take on it and like what they saw, like how the horses were treated and whatnot. It was a really cool read.
So equestrian aficionados?
Yes.
There you go.
The third question then, what's a typical work week for a Disney horse? Well, if they only get 2 weeks off, you said that they should only work 4 hours a day and 3 days a week. The correct answer that I was looking for was 3 days a week and 3 to 4 hours at a time. And never at night, and never if it's too hot.
Unless you are the headless horseman.
Yes, there are exceptions made, and those horses are very specially trained to be able to handle fireworks, nighttime, all sorts of other things that are going on. They get special training for that. But overall, they do try to keep all of the horses far away from fireworks and the other things that might be a little too spooky for them.
Well, I guess that is one positive of them not living at Disneyland anymore, is that they have a little bit more of a chill evening time now.
Mm-hmm.
But also that horse that is in the Frightfully Fun Parade, that horse is massive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like very tall, very big. If it decided to kick you, your head would roll,
It commanding presence is
Yes.
what he's got.
Yes. And your fourth and final question. Like all cast members, Disney horses have names and name tags. Where do they wear their name tags? You both finally agreed on the chest. The correct answer that I was looking for was on their harness, and it's on the side of the body, not really close enough
Not
to
the
the
front.
chest,
Yeah,
more
it's more
of
like-
the shoulder.
yeah.
I'm showing Teresa the picture right now, and I can't give it to you with chest.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So I'll try and describe where it's at. So it looks like for this horse, it's on the left side, but there's like a strap that goes around just at the base of his neck under like
Behind the leg.
front. Yeah. Behind the front legs, like right.
It's on that strap.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm gonna have to pay closer attention because it's like a legit name tag. It's not like a thing that they made look to be a name tag.
No, it's an
looks
actual
like
cast member name
like
tag.
the actual thing. It does not say where they're from though. It just had the horse's name.
I'm trying to... there it is. I was trying to
doesn't
find it
seem
on
to
like a picture. Yeah. That's
I'm
cool.
gonna have to pay closer attention because, like tag, I only ever noticed like the name hanging in the horse-drawn carriage, and they used to have like, I think it was just a display where they had in the firehouse. They had like the stalls, right? And they had like honorary cast member horse name tags there, and I wasn't ever sure if those were like the ones that if those names were. Am I making that up? Maybe I'm making that up.
I think that... no, I think you're right.
I
remember
never
names in the
Yeah,
stalls
and I guess
there.
I never, because the horses aren't in the stalls,
Yeah.
but I never so maybe someone out there will be able to tell us. I never knew what those names were for, like if those were honoring past horses, if those were names of the horses that were working but just not like on stage at that moment, or what the what the tie-in was to those names.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home or in your car or at work when you shouldn't be listening or wherever it is that you're listening? How do you think Tag and Teresa did? Do you have a wonderful rabbit hole you want to send me down sometime, or do you just have some excellent questions that you've been dying to hear on the air? If you have that perfect question and or rabbit hole and you'd like to hear it, please feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
A special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast, Andy Mack for all the wonderful character transitions, and to James D. for supporting at the Club 33 level.
Hello, I am Baymax, your personal podcast companion. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this episode? My scans indicate you have been a good weekly tier. Have a lollipop. Now excuse me while I let out some air. Goodbye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.